Hi, Mary Pelchininoff. Welcome to Sure Things. So recently I changed careers myself and I went into real estate. And as I started studying and learning about real estate, I realized that people have a lot of questions about many parts of it, namely about mortgages. So today my guest is going to help us answer those questions and probably more, which is great. I'd like to welcome Dave Perregaux. Hi, Dave.
Hi, how are you? Hi, everyone.
Good. I'm very happy to have you here because, as I said, starting out and talking to people about selling and buying and whatever, mortgages come up a lot. And there's so much to it, it seems, mainly the paperwork. But we'll take it a piece at a time, so I really appreciate you coming on to help us solve some of the mysteries and answer some of the questions.
Okay.
What's your background, Dave, on that whole part?
On mortgages, I've been a mortgage loan officer for 5 years.
Okay.
I do it part-time. Mainly, I started doing it so I could help my kids pay for their college tuition. But I just love helping people out.
Right.
As a second job, it's really beneficial and gratifying to help somebody get their first home, help somebody refinance if they're in financial trouble with credit cards or whatever. It's just really gratifying to see at the closing people's faces, because I go to every closing as well.
Oh, you do?
I
go
do.
to every closing. Well, that is amazing. You're right. It's nice to know that there's somebody out there that's trying to help those people, because it is, as I said, I feel like there's a myriad of paperwork and other concerns that we have as we try to go through that process. And in today's market, I wondered if people would be wondering this question too, because there's so much about the market and the interest rates. So people are worried about that. There's some people, they say it's a seller's market because people are a little bit, it's a seller's market. Buyers have having a hard time because there's such little inventory. People are sitting on it. But what do you see given this market?
So in today's market, I find the hardest issue is the appraisal gap issue. With the higher interest rates, people are qualifying for less. We're pre-qualifying people with higher interest rates, and a lot of people can't afford those higher interest rates, and they want to refinance, but the rates are so high, so that makes it almost impossible. And what's interesting is with the contracts that are written now, there are clauses in those contracts now where the sellers are removing the mortgage clause.
What does that mean?
So it means that so most people get qualified for a mortgage, and if they remove that and the appraisal goes below what they want to sell it for, that means they're out. They can't do a mortgage. So you have to basically take the house as is, which a lot of people can't afford to do, and a lot of people don't do the inspection as is as well. So the buyer is losing out with the contracts are being rewritten now to benefit the seller, not the buyer. There's also no inventory out there, which makes it harder. And many people don't want to get rid of a 2% mortgage that they have currently to go buy another house if the interest rate's 6 or 7%.
Right.
But the cost of living has gone up so much that it almost makes it beneficial, in some ways benefiting them to do that with the current cost of living increases. And I'll give you one quick example.
Yeah.
Say you have sorry for the math, but say you have a $300,000 mortgage at 6%.
At what percent?
At 6%.
6%, okay.
Over the course of the 30 years, you're going to pay $347,000 in interest. If you had a 3% loan, you pay $150,000 in interest. So that's a difference of $530 a month that you're paying in interest.
Yeah.
However, in the current market, most people have credit card debt totaling $20,000 or $30,000. And typically the interest rate is much higher than that as well.
Right.
So in my example, if you have $30,000 in credit card debt and it's over 20%, you're paying over $500 in interest for that. So together, it's a wash.
Right.
You're spending more for the 6% interest, but you're also spending the same amount in interest with your credit cards. And the benefit is if you refinance at a 6%, you get to deduct the interest on your taxes. So
So that part wins.
That part wins.
That part wins, and that's a good point to think about, because you're right. If somebody has that credit card debt, And with the 6%, it's hard for people to see that refinancing could actually benefit them.
Correct.
They have to
And
look
that's
at
why they
both
would
sides.
sit down with somebody so
Right.
people could run the numbers
Right.
for them. That's why I did that. You asked me to do it.
No, I know,
You asked
that's
me to
good.
do that example, so I did that really quick for
What
you.
about the appraisal part? So is there anything that a buyer can do to help that? Because if there's going to be that appraisal gap, I've seen some contracts where the buyer will make sure they cover the appraisal gap.
So if a first-time home buyer theoretically comes in
Yeah,
and say there's a $30,000 gap for a first-time homeowner, they typically aren't going to be able to cover that $30,000 gap.
No.
So it's really hard. I mean, that's why that's one of the biggest issues in today's market is that gap. And the buyer can't really do anything about that.
the buyer can't. So there's nothing, because that's when I'm
Especially if
wondering,
those
too.
clauses are removed from the mortgage statement themselves, that if
Right.
protecting the buyer, the seller, not the buyer, if the appraisal comes down lower.
Right. Are you finding that's happening a lot, that the
Yes.
appraisal is lower than what they're,
Yes,
Ask
it has been happening a lot lately.
it has been happening a
Because
lot.
the prices of homes are getting inflated so much,
Right.
because there's been a huge influx of cash-only buyers, and that pushes the prices up, which makes it harder for the first-time home buyer
Oh,
or
right.
people trying to go to a second home to buy that because the prices have been so inflated.
They're so inflated, and it's interesting what I've noticed with some of the first-time home buyers that I've worked with or walked through with the open houses is with that cash-only clause and with the bidding wars, they just can't even compete. And I've seen these young families just get deflated too, because they feel like they just can't make it when they know someone's going to bid 20 or 30,000 more than they have.
And the first-time homeowners have to be careful as well, because there are programs out there that help the first-time homeowners, like the Time to Own program,
Which
which
is
means
what?
they help with the down payment for a house. So it enables them to get into this house.
The loan, it's like a loan?
No, you don't have to. It's
Actually
you do not have to pay. It's down payment assistance.
Okay.
But with that down payment assistance, you have a higher interest rate. So in the end, you're going to be paying more.
But you get in the house.
You get in the house. So the first-time homeowners have to be really careful with, your budget.
Sure.
You have to make sure you stay within that budget, even though you're getting the down payment. Your interest rate and your payment's going to be higher.
Is that down payment assistance? Is that, you must have to qualify for something. to
Yeah.
get
So you're walking
Yeah.
right in here.
Oh, yeah.
So there's income limitations. There's so you're borrowing more money. So you're going to have less equity when you buy the house because you're basically buying it for 5% down rather than paying 10 or 15% down to get closer to that, not paying PMI. So it helps people get the house,
Right.
but they have to be very careful because you don't want to put yourself outside of your budget
Right.
by doing it. Because you're
Can-
going to afford maybe a bigger house because of the assistance, but then
But
you're going to be
for it.
paying more in the long run.
Can you do something like that? Could a first-time home buyer do something like that to get into their first house, right? They're going to get the mortgage assistance to get the down payment in so they get in the house. Then how long would they have to wait till they could turn around and refinance to try to bulk it all into
So that's the last negative. During the time to own, you can't refinance.
Oh, you cannot.
You cannot refinance. You have to pay off the whole loan before you can.
Ooh, what is the rate on that right now?
The last one I looked at was 7% or 8%, so it's higher than what the average.
Right, not too much, well, 8% would be.
Well, that was a while ago that I
Yeah,
did the first time.
I wonder
So the
about
rate
that.
is higher. It takes longer to close because there's lots more stipulations in the.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of clauses in there that they're saying they're helping the first-time homeowner.
Yep.
Which they are, but the homeowner has to be very cautious to stay within their budget, within
Right.
everything that's going on. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves in a month or a year
Maybe
out
underwater.
on the street, underwater.
Sure, that'd be underwater. What other programs do they have for first-time home? I mean, that's a big one, the down payment assistance, but,
I shop around to different lenders and
Yeah.
give them the best rates, which doesn't put them. Yeah, I try to stay within people's budgets that they tell me
Right.
this is what they can afford, what's the payment, can you put a down payment down to get rid of the PMI? I mean, there's lots of, if you put 20% down, there's no primary mortgage insurance, so it's just principal and interest.
which is good for people to know, because that PMI really just adds to
It
your
goes up
monthly
to
bills.
80% house value, so
Yeah.
if you put 20% down, you won't have any. If you put 5 or 10%, you're going to
You're going to get it. And
that's added on to your mortgage payment.
And is that until you get to a certain ratio?
It's until you get to 80%.
80%,
then
right,
it automatically disappears.
It disappears. You don't have to worry about that.
Nope.
No. What are you seeing, given the current market and the struggles people are having? Is there any certain program that's working better than others, or are people just sticking with the conventional?
People are sticking with the conventional because
Yeah.
they find that in the end, it's beneficial to them because it keeps them within their budget.
Yeah.
Because I have done a few first-time homeowners where because you can't refinance at the higher rate. They're finding themselves in trouble.
Yeah.
They're okay for the first few months, and then they're like, oh, we're above budget.
Right.
Now we have to.
And they don't do a lot of variable rate.
Not in terms of that. The lenders do come out with variable rates that help the lenders or help the buyers.
Yep.
But in 2 or 3 years, then the rate's going to go up, and then they're going to find themselves the same way as that.
Right.
I'd be cautious of variable rates just because it gets you into the house.
But you don't know what's coming down the road. 2,
4, 6 years, if the interest rates go up even higher, then your interest rate's going to be bumping up, and your payment's going to keep on increasing.
Wow, okay. All right, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about mortgages and a bit about Dave's work with the Elks in Westbrook. Be right back.
Community TV, your neighborhood TV.
Publicly funded and a reliable partner for cable companies nationwide, it provides transparent coverage of local and state government, education, and public programming.
A digital town green that can be watched anywhere, anytime, and on any device.
Watch us on today's high-tech distribution methods.
Community TV in Connecticut.
Local,
unfiltered,
reliable, and yours.
Smart TVs and streaming services have taken over the television industry. VSC TV is proud to announce our presence on Apple TV and Roku to make watching your favorite shows even easier. You can access this service by downloading the Cablecast ScreenWeave app. Then choose Valley Shore Community TV from the list of channels. Select VSC TV Live to watch our channel in full HD. Or pick a show from our on-demand video library. VSC TV is your local Connecticut Mid-Shore Valley digital connection.
Hi, welcome back. We're here with David Perregaux, and we're talking about mortgages. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. And we're talking about mortgages and how to get into that house and that whole process. I did want to hit the topic because of people that get up in years. Sometimes they think about that whole program of reverse mortgages, which I'm not, can you enlighten us on that a bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
Reverse mortgages are for people over the age of 62 that have either own their house outright or have a very large equity in their house.
Okay.
And what happens with a lot of people in this age, especially with today's economy, is they have high medical bills, they have high prescription costs, they have don't pay their taxes, they have high credit card.
Yeah.
So this is a program that enables them to stay in their house. And what it does is you can draw up to 85% of your equity as a loan, and you can use that over the course of however long you want to be there until the equity is gone.
No restrictions
No
on
restrictions.
that money.
But so say you draw for a $300,000 mortgage, say you draw $200,000 for the reverse mortgage. You only use $20,000 of that to start. Okay, so you have $180,000 in your reserve to borrow against.
Yeah.
While you're not using it, that earns 4% interest.
Oh.
So it's almost like a savings account where it's available to you if you want to use it, but you're getting interest for anything that you don't use.
Right.
So to me, it's a beneficial program if you are over 62 and you find yourself in financial trouble, whether it be, again, taxes. A lot of people are behind in their taxes based on our economy and the inflation and medical bills, et cetera. And the other nice thing about it is if you say you only use $20,000 of that, you sell your house, all you have to do is pay back the $20,000 from the sale cost. So you only have to pay back what you used of your draw.
So if you have a reverse mortgage, who owns the house?
You own the house.
You still own the house.
Yes.
So when
and you can't be kicked out of the house, like that rumor was.
I know that rumor really went
You
around.
cannot be kicked out of your house.
That they own the house and you could be kicked out. And if you sold the house, you still could get the profit, whatever's
Correct. You would only have to pay back what you borrowed, not the draw amount that you took out, not
Right.
the $200,000.
Just whatever you borrowed.
Just to say the $20,000, the example, just the $20,000 that you used is what you would have to pay back or get withdrawn from.
Do you find a lot of people taking advantage of it?
Yes, the amount of reverse mortgages have increased substantially.
Wow. What about people, and maybe you haven't dealt with this, people that put their houses in trust, reversible trust, whatever?
I
Yeah,
have
you haven't
no
dealt with that. I
experience
know.
with trust.
Yeah, I wondered about that whole thing too. That's very interesting about the reverse mortgages. I'm sure that helps clear up a lot on that. How long does the mortgage process take?
So from once your application is submitted,
Yeah.
at least through my company,
Yeah.
I would say within a month you'll be in your house, or the refinancing will be done.
In a month, and that's with everything moving along.
With everything moving
appraisal.
along. After my first initial meeting with
Yeah,
you,
it goes
I would do
along.
the application for you, and then once that application is submitted,
Yeah.
it's within a month you'll be at the closing table.
Well, that's really
on-
great.
Better than that as an average, but
That's great.
I'll say a month as a conservative amount.
Do you notice a lot of people waiving that whole inspection process? And does that affect them getting a mortgage at all? Or not?
You will not get a mortgage if you waive the home inspection. Mortgage companies want to see.
They wanna see
wanna
exactly
if
what
there's
it
because
is.
if you buy a house and say the septic is bad, then that's going to cost you money to do it, and so they don't want to, until that's fixed, they don't want to clear the mortgage for you.
So that's.
It's only cash. Basically, people that have cash only can waive the.
Can waive that. Interesting.
Because most lenders will not give you a mortgage if it's not inspected and improved.
They want to make sure
passed off
everything's
on it.
all set.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that idea of that 1 month. I'm dealing with a few people, it's been a bit longer than that.
Even
so-
the FHA, I mean, if you went the FHA route, they make you fix things themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They go through with a checklist.
That's
and
a
say,
big one,
okay,
right.
You gotta, and they write you gotta come up with $20,000 worth of repairs before we'll even move to the next step.
Sure, yeah. What type of paperwork, if somebody was getting ready to do this, they're thinking, they're in the process and they want to make sure what type of materials or papers would they have to make sure they have available to go and apply for a mortgage?
So you need 2 months of pay stubs.
Yeah.
You need 2 to 3 months of bank statements.
Mm-hmm.
You need tax returns. You need the 1099s
Yeah.
from or W-2s, whether you're self-employed
Yeah.
or not. You need a copy of your license and social security card. Basically, and then you want to know income. You want to know
Right.
what's in your bank, what's not in your
Finances,
bank.
right, the finances.
And then
right.
we pull your credit, and then we know what your monthly payment of debt is.
Yeah.
And then we can do your front and back ratio and move forward from there.
It's really good to talk about because a lot of people, they get in the process and they're like, now they want this and now they want that. And I'm trying to say yes, and that's required from anybody seeking a mortgage.
Most lenders,
Right?
anyone that I've dealt with, and we deal with 12,
Yeah.
require all that paperwork
Right.
up front.
Absolutely.
Because there's no way that you can estimate an income, or they want to verify your income, so that's why they ask for the tax returns.
Right.
They want to see, okay, you made $100,000 this year, you made $100,000 last year, you're basically, that's what your income is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you made $50,000 one year and $100,000 next, they want to know what the
They wanna know
difference
what's
is and what you're doing different. So it's just a way to verify your income so that they're reducing their risk by all the paperwork, because they see your bank account and how much you've saved, what's coming in versus what's going out.
And really, you think it's protecting the buyer, right?
Correct.
That
All of
person
it
has
is
to make sure they can make it work.
Because they don't want to get you in a situation with a mortgage that you can't afford.
Right. That's-
Because then they lose, you lose. I mean,
yeah. Is this what you expected when you went into it, when you thought, let me help my
it
kids
is,
out
because
here?
when my third year in is when the rates were really low.
Yeah.
So I was doing 3 to 4 refinances a week at 2%. So, I mean, that itself was
Right.
gratifying because you see people had 5 or 6%, which is what the rates are now kind of, and they were getting it down to 2. So
Yeah. It was a good
you're
time.
seeing them saving so much money.
Right. You know, it's a good time. But even now, they say with the rates now, you buy now, get the mortgage, buy now, and if you can then refinance if the rates go down.
Hopefully the rates will go down in
Yeah.
the near future. They should.
They should,
And
I
then
think in the fall.
refinancing
Yeah.
is very minimal what you have to do. So get into the house.
And that's good for people to know. That whole part about refinancing is not as detailed as it was with
It's
the
not, I
mortgage.
mean, you still have to provide the same paperwork.
Yep.
But it's not, it's very simple.
It's very
And
simple, right?
The math is really simple. If you're sitting down with anyone, they could tell you how much you're going to save. By
Is there a
doing
time
scenario.
between when you first get that mortgage and when you can refinance? Or
6
does
months is
It is 6 months. is
6 months
typical.
is typically
Right.
the time that the lenders
Yeah.
want you to
That's good, yeah.
stay in the house because they're investing time and they don't want to waste their time by having you, basically they're trying to prevent people from flipping houses in a
Right.
month.
Yeah,
Right.
no, and that makes sense too with the whole process that you go through initially even to get it. But I've noticed that I've been trying to encourage people to do that as well. Some people are holding back, saying, I'm not going to buy now. The interest rates are too high, and then I'm watching them lose the homes that they would love because they're waiting.
And that's the thing. I mean, you have to figure out how much debt you have now.
Yeah.
Like I gave you that example of the credit card debt.
Right?
If you are just paying the interest down, your debt is still up there.
Yeah.
And it makes sense to refinance or get a home equity loan to pay off that debt. That's 20% interest. The HELOC's 6,
Right.
4 to 6 or 8, depending on the term.
A lot cheaper,
So
yeah.
it's a lot cheaper. You stay
Right.
in the house and you'll feel a lot more breathing room with
Yeah.
less of a.
That makes sense too, yeah. Yeah, well, I'm hoping when you talk about interest rates, where, some of the talk we hear at the office and everything is the fall. Hopefully the fall will see a change in those and then perhaps an increase in the housing prices. So that's another reason why I say to people, there are many reasons to, if you see the house that you really want, to go for it now because, as I said, you can either refinance, the prices of the houses might go up.
Correct. I mean, the housing market is, with the limited ability, the houses is only going to go up right at the moment because it is a limited market and there's not a lot available. So it's definitely.
Right. I have to say yesterday was a bit inspiring because as I had one open house in Madison, but as I noticed going around the neighborhoods, I saw so many more open house signs. So I felt more, heartened that yes, the market might be moving a bit more. People are actually getting their houses out there.
I also think people are realizing, I know it's at 6%, which
Yeah.
isn't ideal.
Yeah.
But 12 years ago, 14 years ago, it was 15%.
I remember those
So
days,
6% is not
Well, you can put it
bad, but
relative,
it's,
right.
relatively speaking,
Right.
it is.
It's not
but-
the two, but it's okay.
You're
Right. It's
right.
worth it. So, no, thanks on that. That's great information for people, especially this time of year when things are opening up.
Correct.
So your other hat you wear, I just want to talk a bit about this because, I was very excited to see that you got sworn in at the Elks as the Exalted Ruler.
Yes.
So I wondered if you could talk a bit about the Elks. We have a beautiful one in Westbrook. The Elks and some of the mission and vision behind the group.
So the Elks is all about community and helping the local community, helping the veterans, helping any organization that really reaches out to us. We help cancer patients, we help hospitals. It's all about giving back to the community. Last year, we raised over $140,000 for charities.
Wow.
And it's just really beneficial and gratifying to be able to see events for the veterans where you see the smile on a veteran's face because you gave them we had a barbecue for the veterans, or we had the big cancer jam where cancer patients come and you see that you're helping them by providing, you're having this benefit for them. And it's really gratifying to be able to help the local high schools, to help the local community, the soup kitchen, et cetera, by doing donations or volunteering. It's just, we're a wonderful organization that loves to give back to the community, et cetera. Just yesterday, I'm still in a lot of pain from it. So we have two major projects for the Elks, and that's Special Olympics and the Children's Hospital. And every lodge in Connecticut anyways has to raise money for each of those. And yesterday at my lodge, as well as Middletown Lodge, we did the Great Elk Migration, where 9 of us walked from Middletown Elks to Westbrook Elks, which was 24 miles.
24 miles.
62,000
Hey,
steps.
You had a good day. You had a good day for it.
Thank God it wasn't Saturday.
Wow, that's awesome.
We raised over $5,500 for the Special Olympics.
That's awesome.
And it's just giving back and helping people that really makes me feel good.
And anybody can join the Elks, right? Yeah.
As long as you're an American citizen, you can join it.
That's great. Well, it's a beautiful facility, and I know it's very well attended. I enjoy going there, and I love the renovations that were done. It's a beautiful,
Thank you.
beautiful area, and it's great to be able to share that common vision that you have
Thank you.
in helping the community. So we appreciate that. But I want to thank you for coming on the show
welcome very
and
much.
giving us all that information about mortgages and your work for the Elks. That's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Until next time, take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.